this playing out and ultimately resolving, because we all know the debt ceiling is going to be raised eventually.
Obviously with the debt ceiling, I mean, the consensus view is probably that they're going to come to a deal at the last second. Whenever everybody believes one thing, I worry that another thing's going to happen. So maybe they go over the limit for a week and it causes all sorts of problems. I generally don't try to predict too much what they're going to do, because it kind of comes down to a handful of politicians and people kind of running this. Instead, my focus is on what happens after, because the past 6 to 8 months, we've actually been in this sideways liquidity environment, and partly because of the debt ceiling. So the Federal Reserve's been draining liquidity out of the system with quantitative tightening, but at the same time, the Treasury's actually been pushing liquidity into the system, in large part because they had to draw down their cash balance because they couldn't issue more debt. If you ran out of your income and you couldn't access debt markets, you still wanted to pay your rent or your mortgage, you'd have to start drawing down your cash balance. And that's basically what the Treasury's been having to do. And they've drawn down from over $1 trillion in their account, now down to something like $100 billion. The number is released daily, but it's very low. And the question is, once they actually raise the debt ceiling, you no longer have that Treasury offset. And so I think there's going to be some interesting decisions by Fed or Treasury officials in the second half of this year on how to manage liquidity in an environment that still has some inflationary pressures. And there's a chance for either the Fed or the Treasury capitulates in some way and provides more liquidity to the market, which they don't really want to do, or they run into a really big liquidity problem and you get a pretty sharp sell-off in financial assets. So that's kind of this decision point that I'm watching pretty closely is after the debt ceiling, not just the days and weeks after, but the months after, that liquidity injection is no longer there.
Well, then there's a